When you go to this direction, the body, he didn't twist far enough. He got halfway. He didn't get all the way. That's mean in the push hand situation, he tried to throw somebody on this side. He cannot because the enemies didn't get all the way. So for example, when I twist him, he got all the way like that only. But eventually, it's supposed to be all the way this way. To get all the way, especially this leg. So the power has to be this way. He got halfway.
基本走步练习。走步。
Taichi pushing hands is designed for the final stage of the Taichi martial art training. Actually, it's a sparring. So when you fight with your opponent never stand there still. What happened, he's going to move. So the hardest part of a routine is why you are moving and you still have a good root. That is the hardest part. Not only that, only you have a good root, then you can get a manifest the power. So because the reason a lot of people ignore is in the moving pushing hand, your first step you have to learn is how do you step right. So when you step, you cannot move your leg too high. You have to really get close at the same time like you're pushing a car uphill. So you cannot allow this car push you backwards. So because the reason you stick with someone, at the same time you don't use all the force. So when you do this kind of training, it's very important. In the Baguazhang, they use a lot of this training. They call Tang Ni Bu. That means the leg walking in the mud, muddy part in the mud. So when that means actually the leg stick together with the ground. So the same thing when you do the Taichi pushing hand. Do you have the root? If you don't have a root, you cannot neutralize the power, you cannot emit your power. Remember, Tai Chi Chuan, they said, the movements initiate from the leg. It doesn't matter you neutralize or use for attack. So because the reason, the first thing you learn is how do you step right. So in Tai Chi stepping, you watch the Tai Chi stepping, it's not just like this only. See, if you go like this, that's not good because the toes, you have to walk like this. It's very stable. This is very stable, this is very stable. So that means when you are pushing, actually is this way instead of the moving push hand. If moving push hand like that, that means you can easily be tripped, then you get trouble. So remember, there are only two key points. One key, you have to stay low, have a good flexibility of your leg. The second one, when you touch the ground, don't get here like that, like a regular walking. It's very gently, you touch it, and once you touch it like a glue, you stick together, like a glue, you stick together. Okay, now you can see how they practice for this one. This is a solo practice by yourself. A lot of time in China, you practice this one around the trees. So that's why I keep circle around. In Baguazhang, this is one of the crucial training, but it's not only in Baguazhang. It's every style they need to train that for the routine training. So they circle around until the leg is so powerful, until the leg is so stable. After that, they start practicing on the brick. They have to step on the brick. It's a right stepping. It's only the bricks that go this way and brick go this way. So you can find the center. It's not easy as the people think. Today, most of martial art ignore all these basic training now. Thank you. So when you watch a Jeff doing the stepping, there's a couple of things has to be improved. For example, the leg, his toe going up. This kind going up, this kind of a walking, there's no routine. So you got to watch out that part. And the one time he start turning, supposed to be turned this way, it's so simple and so root. One time he turn this way. This kind of turning also not good. This is called big circle. When you go to big circle, it can easy falling. Not only that, when you go backwards, the backwards go like that. The body still in front. That's not good. You should be the body heel first. Heel, then the leg will follow. The leg follow this one. So when you practice, it's very important. Keep your bodies high, the same height. Don't get up and down. At the same time, you watch this part. The movement is so simple. And so the same thing, you're going forward. The same thing, this part. So you should be able to move anytime you want, step in anytime you want, and with the right motions. Always move the center first. When I go forward, I move center first, the leg follow. Instead of a leg move, then center follow. Because remember, this is considered the center. The center has to be protected all the time. All right, Brian just did it. It's not bad. Not bad. The only thing is the first one, the body should be a little bit lower, okay? Because the body is still too high. And not only that, when every time he step, you can see his body up and down slightly. So that part, if it's only corrected, and put the mind. The beginning, you had to put the mind in the walking. Only until you regulate without regulate. Doesn't mean you have to practice until it become a habit. Because now, beginning you had to put the mind there. So look like now he's walking on the water. But he doesn't have what? Doesn't have a feeling of a stick together to the ground. Because now the whole mind is, I want to touch it lightly, but at the same time, once I touch it like a glue, I want to glue together. That part is missing, that gluing is missing. Okay, otherwise, you walk nicely, but he's like a walk on the waters. Okay, thank you.
距感
The next steps, after you learn how to step right with a good route, next step actually the sense of distance with your opponent. Too far is not good, and too close is not good. Remember Taichi Classic, what they said. They say it cannot lose contact, but it cannot resist against each other. So because the reason is so important, if you resist against each other, it's called double weighting. But you lose contact, that means it's not good. That means you lose the listening and the sticking on the connections. So because the reason the training is actually only very simple by this. So when I move forward, I cannot just move forward, don't move yet. I cannot just move forward without the good distance of a Pongjing. So that means it's not good. So that means he can strike me. So when you practice this kind of sensing, where you sense, of course, you always watch it, pay attention to the body distance, but at the same time, actually, the hint is come from these hands. Because when I move, he feel it. That's why you know how he come in. So like he move forward, he can feel, I can feel this pressure. If he stop, I stop with him. Remember, Tai Chi say, listen and follow. It's not only hand, listen and follow. Most important is the entire body, you listen and follow. So through the walking and through the moving push hand. So because reason is either side can walk forward, either side can go backwards. The worst situation is to go this way. That's why I step forward, he step forward. Remember, defense is always more important than offense. So because the reason when you practice, when I move, he can feel it. Yeah, when I stop, he feel it. But when you move, and I can feel it, then that's all this kind of feeling of sensing. So this one you need practice and practice until you become so good for this sense of distance. The good distance is the distance I want to strike him, but at the same time he cannot strike me. But the most important is the angling for the third step. This is the final stage, but we are not talking about that now. It will be next. So remember that. Thank you. So earlier you can see the first try, but you can see the timing-wise it's not exactly right yet because they take time to practice. It's not only that, you can see the sense, the body movements become stiff. There's no body movements too much because they come from practice more and more. But for this kind of sense of resistance training, it's not only by these hands because the Taichi Push hand, this one situation, another situation is actually both hands, this kind of situation, right leg forward, yeah, this kind of situation. Again, I can seal him and he have to follow me. The same thing, he can bounce back, I have to follow him. See, all these movements is all the sense by feeling. Okay, so now you're gonna try both and stick together. We'll see. Okay. Right hand on top. So in this kind of sense of distance, actually you try to force the opponent until you find out you have a chance to attack. So a lot of time you realize when I push forward, the leg become this way instead of really parallel with each other. Whenever the leg go this way, let me give you a chance to attack. For example, this one, my right leg is able to kick. It's not only that, but this leg is able to trip him easily. So usually in this kind of situation, once you realize the leg in this way, usually the attack come in very quickly because this leg is easy for me to trip him and to kick him. Not only that, it's easy for me to pull on this side. So when you practice, be aware of the leg. Of course, this one, you balance each other. On this one, whoever have the sense of the opportunity, he always can attack first. So it's fine when you practice, but be aware of that when you practice. So when you practice sense of distance, the beginning like that, you see the body is very stiff because your mind is all in the sense of distance. So that means there's no body movements yet. So slowly you have to pay attention in the future, keep practicing. The body has to be relaxed and still very stiff. Now as you can see, upper body like a robot, the lower leg keep moving. Eventually has to be soft. The hands has to be soft. We learn to use the chest to ear. Use the chest moving. So all these things, for example, when they change your hand, support her body movements, the body movements is missing. It's only hands. So those things, of course, take time and practice. All right. So now, next time we're going to go to angling, even harder. Okay, thank you.
角度感。
Next step is called angling. Angling, you try to angle and to open the opponent's empty door. So when we talk about empty door, if your opponent right leg forward, this side called empty door because this side is exposed to you. And this side is called empty door because this side he loses balance easily. Okay, so usually in Chinese martial arts, this is called empty door, empty door. Between me and him, the center called central door. In the pushing, it's very important you have to occupy central door whenever you can. When you occupy central door, you put your opponent in into urgent positions. Okay, but not only that, you try to occupy the empty door, that become called angling. So if somebody's hands here, that means he protect himself. But if his hands up, that means called ground window exposed. When going down, that means sky window exposed. Because the reason whenever I'm pushing my hand down, I open the sky window for my attack. When I step into this angle, that's my step into the empty door to attack. Okay, so from here, you can see more become alive, more like a resemble of the sparring situation now. So again, when you do this kind of angling, they have a situation like this, and they have a situation like this. But this one is still angling. For example, I can move this angle, and then I can push him out balance. Okay, I can push this angle, and then push him out balance. So because the reason he had the angle with me, because the angling is very important, and it become very difficult. Okay, so if you watch the situation like that, then I can angle this way, then I can move this way. And then he can angle with me, he get out already. So again, I can angle this way, and he can move with me. So this angle so far, we are not talking about moving, pushing the hands yet. We just talk about angling. So this angling, I can step forward, he can step to keep distance. I can angle, you have to step the angle with me. See, this will keep a good angle with me. So remember, this one is important. Then also, he should practice this way too. So whenever I angle, he angle with me. Now, I lose my chance. So again, when I go here, now he move again. Now, angling, he set up again. Okay, so remember this one, whenever you create this kind of situation, then that means this leg I can kick, that leg he can kick. So whoever on the top, you get advantage because the one on the top will control and immobilize your opponent's kicking opportunities. Okay, now next one we'll try to see angling. Yeah, from above demonstration, you can see it starts from the basic training and everybody treat each other so gentle to each other and try to get a sense of training and a sense of resistance and angling. But now you can see the end almost try to give each other trouble because there's a final goal of a practice for angling. You try to channel each other, give each other trouble and see how we get out. So they become like a real. But remember, inside we try to limit the technique of a pushing hand in the angling. So in this case, you can pay attention to the angling instead of pay attention to the technique itself. Because technique later, we can mix a lot of technique into this angling training that become moving, pushing hands. So remember, so far, don't pay too much attention to the technique of hands. Most important is how you trap, how you seal, how you control and control your enemy to the angle, to the corner. Okay, so this is an important part, especially those people interested in the moving, pushing hands. This sense of distance, angling is always one of the most important factors in the exercise. Thank you.
动步单推手，基本阴阳化自我练习。
After 41 years of Tai Chi practice, then I always think of what's the best way to train the students so they can catch the essence of the art. So that's why slowly, last couple of years, I start created next one called yin-yang neutralization training, because it's actually a coring training, because it's very difficult for a lot of people. Because so far I've seen a lot of people practice pushing hand. Most of the time they're doing the yang side. Remember, when you go to clockwise, this kind of circle is considered yang side. But when we go to counterclockwise, that's the inside. So because reasons you can see most of the time people practice pushing hands is always yang side. They miss the other side is the inside. Actually, yang side, inside is equal important, because in the fight you can change from yang to yin into yang. Your enemy never know what is substantial, insubstantial. That's why you win. So because reason this one you have to practice a lot whenever you can. You need the body movements, you need all the movement initiated from the leg, directed by the waist and manifest in the hands. Remember that when you do this training, the elbow is the key. In Chinese martial art, they always compare with the shoulder as your leg, your feet, and the elbow is your waist, and the finger is the wrist area is where you manifest is your arms. So it's the same thing. So the elbow is like a waist. You control the movements of the wrist. So because this reason, the beginning you train, don't turn your body yet, always go this way. See my chest in, the body up in. So this is a pong. So from here you can see this yang side. So this is yang side. See my elbow? In front of my elbow, you move, you coil like a snake. You coil around the trees. But when the snake coil around the tree doesn't move because the snake it moves instead of push it away. So it's very important for this kind. This is a yang side of training. After yang side of training for a while, you can see yang side is aggressive. You use for offense. Because the reason you start going this way. See, that's why I seal. This, again, this one, and then I seal. This one, I seal. This one, and I seal. Remember, when I neutralize from here, and I seal to the center. You go here and seal to the center. So this is sealing. Okay, do not grab, it's a sealing. Actually, eventually you practice, when you touch your opponent, immediately seal his arm so he cannot move easily against you. That's called sealing. At the same time, this is called an. This is called an. So you also coil and an. This is the yang side. So this is yang side, there's another inside. Later you're going to see, for example, inside. Inside, actually, you can see the way we do is counterclockwise. The same concept, the elbow move, and this one from the outside, you focus. So this, again, you need the chest movements. The chest and you seal, the chest you seal, the chest you seal. So after you practice a while, then you become the turning the body, and turning the body, and turning the body. So you can see this is an elbow move, and you turn the body. Eventually, the final goal of practice, because when you fight with your opponents or you fight with your opponent, you're not standing horse stance. Actually, you're standing bow and arrow stance, or sometimes they call mountain climbing stance. So eventually it's this way. So you should be able to do this yang side, and this yang side, this yang side, and this yang side. Again, this inside, and this inside, and this inside, and this inside. You should be able to coordinate with your leg, all these three sections with body movement and so smoothly. Yeah, so all these things become the habit. The more you practice, the more in pushing hand, you can take advantage much easier because you can put your hands all the time on your top of your opponent. Once your hands on the top of your opponent, you put your opponent in the urgent position and put him into the defensive situations. Okay, so next one you're going to see Rami and Jeb and Brian, they're going to do this one, and I want to see how they do it right or not. They're going to start with a stationary for the basic. After that, they're going to turn the body. After that, they're going to put the leg forward and try to see if they make any mistakes. Watch your body don't get up and down. Okay, all right, so you look at Jeb, how he did it. Okay, the one thing is the body try don't get up and down. You can get down, but don't get up. Okay, this hand, of course, this is a good seal, but same time, this hand, sometimes you can use all the fingers to lock it. But one problem Jeb has, he needs to be improved more, is his quad. For example, when you turn the hand this way, this quad doesn't turn. Actually, the best, you see the body turn all the way to this direction. That's the best way, turn to all the these directions, because the quad had to turn. The same thing, this hand no problem, but when you go to these hands, the body quad has to turn more. Like this is not good, that's you twist yourself. Once you turn, everything becomes soft. So the quad remain the important keys for the whole exercise. Okay, now it's pretty good. The upper body is very nice. Okay, the same thing, what the body is very nice, the root is nice. Your body is slightly up and down, but that's not a big problem because the root is still there. What's missing? The same as usual, the sense of enemy. His mind is all in the forms, yeah. So he needs a sense of enemy. So if you don't put it down here, actually the mind is think about there. That's always the enemy. That's the